Okay, so here's another example of a trend and also a trend trade. We're going to do both. This is euro pound on the 4-hour chart. So let's start looking at this. And this is in a buy mode. So as the buy begins, we're looking at a uptrend coming in here. So this uptrend that you see here was preceded by this miniature downtrend here. Now, as we do that, an uptrend process is a higher high, higher low sequence. So the first thing we have is a higher low. Okay, once that higher low is confirmed, he makes a higher high afterwards, giving us an idea that, okay, we're possibly in a trending state. What else gives it away that's a trending state? Look at the movement of this. Look at the movement of this. You're like, whoa, okay, he's speeding up. Okay, we're gonna actually be covering this also in the next lesson of the strength of the legs and stuff like that. I don't know if in the upcoming lessons actually. So let's take a look at this in detail. So as the market is pulling back, we have a breach to the north, slight hold, goes higher, slight hold, goes higher. So we got a breach above this entire zone basically. Okay, and who's responsible for all this? The guy down here. Okay, so we got this massive support equals resistance, but at the same time, this massive buyer's territory. Okay, now in all the sequence, if we follow, even we put our line above the red guy if you want, and say, oh, maybe that's the guy because we never made any higher highs afterwards. So if that's the case, we want to see when the sellers come in. Okay, it's not just that's the pullback, hit the buy. No, when do the sellers actually come in? The sellers can only come in when the buyers stop. Make sense? The sellers can only come in when the buyers stop. So let's take a look at the buyers. Here's the buyers, slight pullback, buyer again, deeper pullback, buyer again, no higher high, 50% pullback, buyer again, no higher high, dead, collapse. Here comes the sellers. Pull back into it, sellers dominate. So if you were to watch the sellers again from here, say that's the seller coming into here, what kind of retracement is this? 90%. He makes a lower low, but does he make a lower low? Because he climbs right back up. Did he ever make a lower low in this whole area? Okay, so after 80% retracement, he attempts to go down again, but he comes crashing right back, telling you that that might be my moment to hit the buy because we're working with what looks like a range in our context of a trend. So we want to activate our trade as close to the bottom as possible, right? We went through this, right? So when we want to hit the buys is as close as possible to here, but then we see we don't make higher highs. And we make money, but we don't make higher highs. So we don't actually mint the trend. But it means one thing. The game is still on. We made money. We had to exit early on this as the market started coming crashing back down. We're like, that means the trend is still pending. The range is still active. Let's follow the buyers and follow the sellers back again, and let's see what's going on. The range is big enough for me to read all momentum. The trend is big enough for me to say we're well above the buyers in the buyers area, so no problem. So trend is still very healthy, right? Because it's not even pulling back as much. It's very healthy. Okay, so we're looking at all the stuff pulling back. Very deep retracement, 90%, drops hard, and then 90% again. It's like, could that be a lower low? Did he actually even make a lower low? Putting the line right there, and we're questioning that concept. Comes back around, holds, drops, makes a lower low, so the sellers are still around. Okay. Now that the sellers are still around, we're looking at this as when are they gonna die? Because we have our original bottom of the range here. Okay? Let's watch it carefully. 2 times it hit 90%. After that, he struggled to make it down again. See the struggle phase? Okay, keep that in mind that we did breach below this, but are we actually below it? Okay, look carefully. He breaches below it, he jumps right back in. Okay, it breaches below, it jumps right back in. So let's draw the miniature ones here. I'm going to change the colors. I'm going to put the color here, and I will make it I don't know, pink. No, pink's too bright. Let's make it pink. Who cares? Okay, Mr. Pink here. All right, we're gonna make it a little bit thicker as well. Why not? Boom, so you guys can see it a bit. Okay, let's move it out. All right, so we got that pinky line right there. Okay, after the breach happened, he tried to come back up, still seller's area, went back down, tried to come back up, still seller's area, went back down, breached below. Now he's breaching below in the seller's zone, but he's fighting it on the bottom of this. Now, here we go in the same phase again, and I'm going to ask you a question, the same question I asked you earlier. Who's going to dominate? The pink one, the orange one, the purple one? If you were to rank them in the power, which one would be the weakest? Which one would be the strongest? Okay, so this thing is a miniature one that just began. This orange line is a major one that's been running for some time. This purple line is the Godfather. Okay, if you guys had the exact same answer as exactly what I said, including the Godfather, you're on par with me. Good job. Okay, so moving forward, he fights in this area. Now this area starts to look very interesting to you because you know it's a range, you know it's in a seller's area, but you also know that, man, this is at the bottom of this area as well. You dive in to take that risk and you're like, you know what? I'm going to attempt this risk. You hit the buy and you see what happens to your buy, and your buy fights it. This is 4-hour charts. It takes a whole day, and on to the next day, you're still holding it and you're seeing, well, where am I going to end up with this? The buy is still on, the top of the range is still here, and you might be thinking, well, should I exit it there, or should I see if this guy comes back to life? You have an option there. You can close it, take your money. You made your money twice like that now. Or you can still keep an idea of, well, what if my trend is still alive? Let's take it a bit slower. Here's the momentum. Here comes the buyer, pulls back. I'm going to use this pink line. Here's the buyer, pulls back, first higher low sequence. Okay, it's not really a higher low, but you can see that's he gets snapped up from here basically. But forget it. Let's say it's not even a higher low. Buyers push up here, 99% retracement. We're like, oh man, this buyer sucks. Inches his way up, boom. Finally gets the courage to say, I'm going to do this. Once he gets up there, we're like, well, he was looking very weak and he had a 99% rest. He must be faking it. He must have just have been on some steroid or something. But then his rest is like fighting and fighting and fighting. It's like he doesn't want to rest. So we're curious now. Which is the reason why we're thinking, do we hold on or do we let it go? Let's move it further. Notice his run up again from here. Strong or weak? And the market starts to collapse from here. Now this time, he's no longer above in the buyer's area, but he's above the guy who caused this. Right? Here's the breach line, is that pink line, and the guy who was responsible is that circle. Again, bottom of the range again. Bottom of the range again, which means at this point, two things might have happened if you're holding on. One, maybe break even. Okay? Maybe break even, you moved your stops to 0. 2, it's not the trend and you're like, I'm still going to keep trying to buy it when the time is right to see if I can still hit it for the trend. So you're still watching it and you're like, well, is that sellers? Let me see how the sellers die out for me to understand, okay, here comes the buyer again. He's on the other side. If I were to follow it like a sell, here's the breach for the sell side. No lower low, no lower low. Boom. He's onto the other side. He's going to go up to challenge that guy, but we don't want to activate our trade up there because we're in a range. So we're taking a risk yet once again. Notice this risk is higher than all the other ones. So money management needs to come in. Money management. You look further, the market starts to hold, pulls back in deeper. He comes right back down to the bottom of the range. Stop loss? Is that a buy that you do there? Is that a stop loss that happened there? So what happened? Is this pink line saying that everything was still in the seller's area, the buyer never fought it? Is it saying that the guy who took the risk up here lost the risk? So 2 positive trades, 1 negative trade. And the trend still holds on because the game is still running, right? So the sellers come into here, chop, 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 retrace this high. Sellers try to push again. Is that a lower low? Well, so far it isn't. Let's keep going. He comes lower. He's coming down to challenge this purple line now. Sellers still dominating. They've actually picked up steam. Watching it more further. Here comes the buyers back in. So you can, if you extend this out, be like, is that below the range or back in the range? If it's back in the range, where would you activate your buys? When the sell happened down here further, did he breach this zone here and hold below? Yeah, he came down to here and he started holding here. In fact, the line should be here. He started holding here. And then he broke on the other side. But when he broke to the other side, don't forget, he's responsible for that breach. He even broke above that. Now, yet once again, you're in the middle of the range. You're not in the corner of the range, you're in the middle of the range again. And you're like, I had 2 wins. Okay, probably 2:1 ratios. 1 loss. And I'm still looking at this as there's a big buyer in here. So you're like, okay, I'm going to take that risk again, but this time I'm going to watch this area a little bit more carefully because psychologically I'm messed up right now. Because last time I was holding on. Look what happened to me, right? We have a whole course on psychology and how the brain works. But at this moment, we're going to just stick to, we're watching that area up there, but we're in the buy right here. Move it forward. Buyers are very, very strong. Every 4 hours, they keep rising higher and higher. We reach up to that area and we start playing chicken up in that orange line area. 3 candles, 4 candles, which is 12 hours, right? Right? 16 hours with 4 candles for 4 hours each. 16 hours have passed by and you're scratching your head like, what do I do? What do I do? I'm positive. I'm making money. That's not a problem. But it's not about making money anymore. You've stepped up your game to, it's not about making money anymore. It's about, can I get this? Can I solve this equation? Can I solve this dilemma? Can I master and pull out more money from my analysis? Okay? So we're watching this area carefully and you decide, okay, at this point, you know what? I'm going to remove half my money because you have fear of this previous time. So you remove half your money and the fear is so great that you even move your stop loss to 0. Okay? So stop loss to 0, you remove half your money, you're like, good, I made something. I made some money. You're holding on. The blast happens. Buyers are very, very strong, but he jumps right back in and you're like, do I close it now? Is that a faker? Dilemma. Let's look at the momentum. Buyer slowly creeps in and then jumps hard. Buyer rests 5%. Jumps hard, but then he rests 90%. You give it another candle, and the rest is dropping. And now you're thinking, should I close it? And as you think, should I close it? The buyers start to kick back in, and you're wondering, does my pink line go here now? Okay. Are we holding, maintaining grounds to go north? Is my trend finally alive? And the move starts to happen. Okay, so this example was a little bit more in-depth. Okay, because you're in week 3 now, and that's why I'm trying to open up a little bit. I'm trying to extract your brain to think more, and tickle your brain with, did you put in all the information from the previous weeks? Are you connecting all the dots together and be like, wait a minute, it's all making sense now. I can see where my mistakes in my previous trading might have been happening. I can see where I can improve on. I can see this is not difficult. This is easy. Right? All right. So very good work with this entire states and everything. You are on to the next week now. So let's catch up again in a week's time, and we'll start your next lesson.